Mingo has officially partnered with Napster AI. So what we are doing is we're working with them currently to build what we are calling internally is a virtual stadium.
Today, I welcome Jason. He is the Chief Operating Officer over at Mingo. Jason, thank you so much for giving us some time today.
No, really appreciate being here. It's great to be here today.
Yeah, well, I just want to dive right into it, Jason. For anybody that doesn't know, can you just explain what Mingo is?
Yeah, so originally, Mingo kind of started off as an infra play. It was wallet technology. But, over the last year, 2 years, Mingo has become more about making Web3 invisible for the everyday person. So at its core, we're solving the mess in ticketing. So fake tickets, scalping, ridiculous resale prices, all of this is still happening today with major players that are under investigation. The beauty with Web3 or DLT technology is it actually fixes all of these problems, transparency, programmable ownership. So Mingo Tickets is definitely the focus right now. It makes tickets fraud proof. We've got caps for resales and it gives organizers way more control. But tickets are just the entry point. So once people are in, Mingo kind of becomes a hub for access. So, real world events, digital experiences, gaming, even tokenized content. So the whole idea is that you don't feel like you're, using Web3. You just feel like you have a better product.
Well covered. Now, I know you've been working really hard behind the scenes on, the product and development. Can you share anything on that front?
Yeah, do you know what? The app has come a long way in the last couple of months, particularly. So, we added in swap functionality. Actually, we're using Saucerswap's API. That's all live. It's running smoothly. We finished Wallet Connect integration, so that's completely working now. So again, all of the Hedera-based dApps, Kabila, SendX, a Saucerswap. If you want to connect, you can now use our Mingo wallet to connect. But like I was saying, previously, we're not looking to be just a wallet provider. Like our wallet is more to kind of facilitate easier onboarding for new users. We're also rolling out our next phase, I suppose, for the consumer-facing ticket site. So that should hopefully come out in the next couple of weeks. That's just to give new users, I suppose, a more traditional ticket buying experience. A lot of our customers that we're looking to onboard, particularly through the ticketing side of things, they're not necessarily Web3 natives. They're not necessarily used to, engaging with wallets and this kind of stuff. They're more familiar with a traditional kind of Web2 based platform. So that's what we're bringing out now. And then the other side is the organizer side. So again, we've had the foundation for our ticketing functionality live for a little bit. And we've done some test events. We've talked to different event organizers, and we've been listening. So we've taken a lot of the feedback from the different people that we've been talking to, and we're now bringing this whole kind of organizer dashboard out probably in 4 to 6 weeks. So this will really put us on par with some products, maybe something like Luma, where you've got a lot more kind of ticketing functionality for the organizer and a lot more analytics on the back end for them to kind of see how well their campaigns are going. So pieces are really falling into place for the ticketing functionality for sure.
That makes perfect sense. And, a lot of times when people think of NFTs, they think of the first use case, the PFPs. But, whether it's real world assets, even, Twigital is technically a wallet. So the fact that you're doing these tickets, of course, they're going to be NFTs. Needing that wallet functionality makes perfect sense. So the one thing that I chat with Joe, the CEO there at Mingo, on a regular basis, and he keeps hinting at these huge partnerships that you guys have going on. Can you explain exactly what's going on there? And can you tell us about any of these partnerships at this point?
Yeah, do you know what? I think we can do it now. Finally, I think this might be the first time we're actually announcing this one publicly. So yeah, it's great to do it with you. Great to do it with you here. So look, Mingo has officially partnered with Napster AI. So what we are doing is we're working with them currently to build what we are calling internally is a virtual stadium. Now, Napster AI, they've been in this game for quite a while in terms of, metaverse building, and they started off as a metaverse company. So they used to be called Infinite Reality, but they have now recently rebranded as Napster AI. So these guys are huge. Like they previously raised 3 billion on a 12 billion valuation. They bought Napster just for the name and some previous kind of music catalogs and stuff like that, as they're looking to kind of expand into different types of streaming. So look, what we're doing with them is essentially a new type of streaming platform. So something that has never existed before. It's an immersive space where fans can watch events, You can hang out together. You can interact with fighters and artists. You can shop in real time. Think of it as like the evolution of streaming and where it now integrates with e-commerce. If you think of a traditional platform, the UIs are flat, they're kind of 2D, whereas what we're building is an experience that kind of fuses content streaming and the social interaction all in one place. It's like it's kind of a nice 3D UI. But the other thing as well is I was never really like fully sold on the user experience from a metaverse point of view, because I think a lot of the challenges that we've seen, particularly in the metaverse space, maybe from the last cycle, is one, the market fit. Like, what are we actually doing in the metaverse? Because this whole idea of just kind of standing around with like, little models and stuff to talk or whatever, I just don't think that's like, it's gimmicky, but it's not going to, not going to see true adoption. So it's like, how can you take this technology and actually apply it to something that has good market fit and is also usability? Because again, we've seen it before with different metaverse type products. Your WASD on the keypad, you're trying to like walk around and find what you're looking for. I think when new technologies are more inconvenient than the traditional option of, say, going to a shop or going to a thing, it's like you're not necessarily going to do it. Like, the only way you will engage on that is if the inconvenience is kind of accounted for by the additional experience. So I think what we've got here is a really, really nice blend of, integrating the metaverse technology where, it's a more immersive experience, it's more aligned, it's social, you've got everything kind of in together, but also keeping it like nice and simple to use. It's not WASD on the keypad. It's actually what Infinite Reality coined it as originally was it's on rails. So again, you can use different arrow directions, you can use different mouse strokes and stuff. Like, it's a much easier user experience. So no, we're really excited about it.
Well, Jason, when I'm hearing this, when I think about original, virtual reality, the metaverse, it's completely virtual. Where here you're talking about actually having live events and just putting it in a package of more AR than VR. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's not. Well, I suppose it's not necessarily AR, but it is in browser. So again, with a lot of the stuff that we're doing, it's all about connectivity and being cross-device. You don't necessarily have to have the VR headsets. Obviously, if you have a VR headset, I'm sure it's going to be a more immersive experience. But you can run this on a traditional 2D screen. You can run this on your TV. Again, it's kind of just trying to take this. If you were to be like, what's the next, where does Netflix go from here? How do you integrate e-commerce? How do you integrate social elements? Like, again, a lot of the streaming platforms you've seen are doing the, watch this together. So, you and your friend can press the button to watch this together. So you can see that there's an appetite for streaming content in this kind of more social and more inclusive way. And I think that's what this more is about. It's like, how do you make that more immersive? How do you make it feel more connected? And also, how do we enhance this, again, traditional UI? If you think about traditional streaming, it's essentially just an evolution of like the video store. You've got little boxes up there and you just click on it and you're brought in. And I think you're missing a whole other experience. So again, when you're trying to take these live events online, it's how do you like make it more of a thing? Like, how do you make it more exciting at the start? Again, even when you see some of the fights that are streamed on Netflix, it's interesting because, Jake Paul and, some of the other fights that have been on it, when you're just clicking onto a video and it opens, you know what I mean? Whereas when you actually think about going to a fight, it's a completely different experience. So it's like, how do you translate that? And again, you've seen with like, different streaming platforms, they'll do the pre-documentaries, they'll try and enhance with additional content at the start leading up to it, to try and, create more buzz and more momentum and to make it more exciting when you come. But ultimately, that entry experience and how you go into that content, it's not like ultimately shared. You're not with other people. And it's, there's nothing new. There's been no really evolution on how that's happening. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
So just to nail down exactly what you're doing with Napster, formerly Infinite Reality, of course, the ticketing for this would be handled by Mingo. Is there anything else that you're looking at as far as the integrations? Because if they're going to have shops, if they're going to have interactions like that, having a wallet that has access to USDC, HBAR, other cryptocurrencies, it seems like that would be a good fit as well.
And that is a great point. That's exactly what it will be. So Mingo will be the native wallet, obviously, for the stadium that we're building with them, and obviously then the ticketing site rolls in nicely. But the other thing as well is like, look, Napster are huge. They work with a lot of companies. They're doing a lot of different other experiences with other people. So they're also really, really excited to see how our wallet technology fits into their ecosystem. And obviously, if it fits in nice and it works really well and people are happy to use it, I can see how this could expand into a much bigger partnership with these guys.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. So I know you mentioned before gaming. I know you were working on a game before. Can you tell us any of the developments on that front?
Yeah, so like all games, they take a lot longer than you imagine that they're going to take. But it's great that we are finally live on mainnet. So Astro Karts is officially live on mainnet. We are literally just finalizing the tournament system, actually the ticketing entry system, because obviously you will use a Mingo ticket to enter the tournaments. So we're just finalizing that part now. And then we will be running our first Astro Karts tournament with 1,000 people, which will be super exciting. We've also finished we finished the creation of our Series 1 NFTs. And we are going to do the first collection, I think we're going to do 1,000 NFTs, and we're going to be launching them very, very soon. Obviously, anyone who gets a character NFT, they're going to get free cart drops. They'll get Mingo token to use when we launch the PvP mode. And look, the whole point of Astro Karts is it's a fun, casual, cross-device gameplay that's easy to jump in and easy to kind of have a lot of fun with. And I think that's where, well, again, obviously I'm biased, but I think that's where you're going to see the most growth right now is games. We've kind of seen it with the Pudgy Penguins game, it's not an original game necessarily, but you've taken a very fun cross-device, kind of easy to play, casual game, and then you've applied IP to it, and it's working really, really well, and people are like using it, and it's super fun. So I think again, look, this casual gaming cross-device focus, I think they're gonna see the most success, particularly in as we come into the next stage of the gaming narrative.
Yeah, I completely agree. So let's put a bow on all this, Jason. When you put all these pieces together, wallet, ticketing, digital events, gaming, everything else, where do you see Mingo heading in the years to come?
So look, I mean, our focus is always at the forefront is ticketing, because that's the wedge. It's the easiest way for us to onboard everyday people at scale. Event organizers bring their audiences in, and then once they're in the app, they've now suddenly got access to more than just tickets. They can swap tokens, they can collect their NFTs, they can play with games. You can start opening them up to the wider Hedera ecosystem. So I suppose over the next year, we'll look at scaling the ticketing side of the business, obviously having more and more events. And then obviously we will look at kind of bringing in more digital experiences again, like the Astro Karts games, and then other cross-device mobile games that we can put in there. And then again, it's bringing in more and more digital experiences. So let's see what really super interesting content we can bring into the Mingo Stadium. And I think that's the focus.
All right. Well, I do have one more for you. So you said you're working with Napster on this stadium. When is the first event going to be where you're actually ticketing the event?
So do you know what the development time on it? I think the next 6 weeks we should have the first iteration of it. That will include the some wallet integration, and will include certain features. I think the full actual stadium, by the time it's all the whistles and bells, like we're probably looking at like early Q1.
Okay.
But we will have something good by the end of the year that will really give you a feel for what it's going to be, and hopefully include some of the e-commerce elements as well, because that's if you can include streaming and e-commerce in a way that kind of feels seamless, I think that's going to be a big win.
Really exciting. Jason, thank you so much for coming on today and telling us about it, and best of luck.
Really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
I'm now posting these interviews of Hedera builders independently to my channel. The community, influencers, and media outlets are free to use this content to spread the word on what's being built on Hedera. Once they're all uploaded, you'll be able to go to my channel and search for whatever topic or team you're interested in to find more information. Or you'll be able to get the most recent Hedera news by watching the latest HBAR weekly update. So check them out.